Plugging into the Matrix.
Was it on Matrix? I want to fly a helicopter.
Yeah,
It's going to happen.
I dreamed of that.
It's going to happen.
I was like, yes, let's do it.
I bet you it happens one day in my lifetime. Okay, let's see how we're doing here.
Yeah, we should be kicking. Yeah. So, folks, welcome to another HotBox podcast. Going to be talking lank dank this evening with myself, Buzz, Dan the Grow Man, A-Dog, and Jules. You'll have to excuse us. We're all still in a little bit of Lesotho afterglow at the moment, boys.
Like going on holiday, we want to go back.
Yeah, I know, it was a cool thing to do. And it was so spontaneous and impromptu and stuff, and it was a complete disaster for a moment, and we pulled it right.
Yeah,
the disaster came, we fixed it. We made sure that we went forward with our mission.
And just to give you guys an idea of what went down, so, Jules, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. There's basically a guy pulling a Jeremy and a Gareth Prince in Lesotho.
Yeah, well, and a Dagga couple. It's a human rights challenge for the whole Basotho nation to grow weed. And he's a Rastafari. He's trained as an advocate, but he can't be one because he can't be a Rastafari. Same with Prince. Yeah. So I got a flyer. Come to the Palace of Justice, and you know, I've always wanted to go to do all sorts of things in Lesotho. And now this was a chance. So we all envisaged getting there, and there'd be like hundreds of Rastas and rah rah rah.
That's what our dream was.
And it had been cancelled.
That morning, almost like there was nothing.
Yeah, no, it was nothing. It was all a bit sort of. It was a little bit African and stuff, but we had people on the ground that we'd already done some research about, and they just came up trumps with the shots and the interviews, and we made another little movie of something that we didn't really go do.
For, yeah. And I think, guys, for those of you who'd like to see more, go check like 2 episodes back. We did a podcast there. It was amazing. So please check in on that. But I think we need to get down to grassroots tax on Lesotho. We came back, as one does, with the checkers of weed.
Yeah, no, it was a checkers of weed, all right. And that was, I could have got that for 10 rand, but I gave him 50 at the homestead.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely just like you would get at a bus station 20 years ago, anywhere in Southern Africa.
Yeah, I reckon if you're buying anything in a matchbox or newspaper situation where it's wrapped in newspaper, this is probably the grade you're going to expect.
It was offered to us at 1,000 rand for 20 kilos, as is. And well,
let's just hang on, guys. Let's pause a minute.
Buzz has been doing a bit of mauling here, and he's been at it for, I don't know, 10 days maybe.
let's just repeat that. 1,000 rand for 20 kilograms. That's basically like one of the really big bags of dog food that you can't get in the trolley that you have to put underneath. It's basically that much weed for $1,000, which is...
Well, it's actually not. It's that much weight, but the volume is like... much more. The volume fluffy. That it takes up is more than just a bag of dog food, but the weight, yeah.
And I think we must address the elephant in the room, seeds.
Yeah, like 70% maybe.
Pips. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the picture online of the three of us in this great big huge field. It went round the houses a bit. The problem is they've got this beautiful resource, but they don't really know what to do with it, or they do and they haven't got the resources to do anything with it. It's just seeded from last year. It's stuck together like you're going to grow hen. It's totally seeded. They pull the males out much after the fact.
Yeah. They're not really well trained in the growing cycle.
No, they can just tweak it a bit, but it's going to take a few years to...
They need to get taught the basics of how to just maintain your crops a lot better with what you have, and you will get a better product. Even though down the valley, there's some other guy that isn't practicing that same thing. By you pulling the ones immediately around your crop out, you're going to lessen the amount of seed. There's going to be seed, but at least, guys, we've been mauling this since we literally got into this place. And
mauling
lots and lots and lots, and then what's left over is literally leaf and stalk and shitty ass. There's literally all the trichomes are gone. They're on your fingers now.
Maybe half of South Africa revolves around this stuff.
They do.
I think 90% of South Africa.
Do you think as much as that?
Well, if you think about it,
it looks pretty. What I've seen of this from Swaziland, I only see bricked up. It's door panel weed. I don't really see it as fluffy as this because you wouldn't bring it in like this from Swazi. I stand corrected. It's just too bulky.
I think for the first 10 years of my stoner life, I probably smoked mostly this grade. Because let's face it, guys, we all started with
We all
this
did,
grade.
yeah. I started with getting leaves from my aunt's house that were like the size of my flippin' magazine here. And I took the leaves and we dried the leaves out and we smoked the leaves because we knew nothing. So like, yes, we started humble beginnings.
I even smoked pollen from the male plant.
There we go. We also did the older. We're like, this is going to get... But that's
What
not
do we
it was
know
pollen and
better?
dry stuff.
What happens when you do smoke the pollen of the male
Nothing.
plant?
No, you
Nothing.
just cough.
Very
Yeah.
disappointing.
Very disappointing.
Were you the guy that did banana leaves as well?
I sure did. I sure did.
Yes, beaties.
We all did, I'm
You
sure.
see,
along the
everyone's
line.
off on this pluck to alter their consciousness any way how.
So before we get into tonight's topics and the meat of it, I reckon the proof is in the pudding. Who's going to be the first to smoke some of this matakwane from Lesotho?
You know, when I got the bag last week or the week before, I tried doing it in my hand to put it in my pipe to actually get down to doing this, and there was so much debris and not enough weed that I never really got it. What I did have to smoke was absolutely horrendous because it was just still sticks and pips. But I'll give it a go.
Because if you guys pay attention at home, you may have noticed, Dan is still mauling pips out of this stuff. He's been
What are
boiling
they
for like
like?
20 minutes.
What are they like? Do they too small or
They're
what?
tiny, they're large, they're small, they're big, they're
But
everything.
do you reckon
they're horrible.
do you reckon there's some winners there? Because you know
Yeah,
what?
look, this
Inside-
that tiny little seed will germinate and it will. I mean,
inside
that is like
this weed,
half the size of a normal
That's right,
cannabis seed.
yeah.
Really, it's,
I've seen seed like this before. Yeah,
Even
I'm convinced that
strains
in
that come
this
like this.
is a balance of a whole bunch of good stuff. It won't be high in anything really, but it will be completely balanced. What do you reckon? 3% THC?
Be very
Less.
little. I mean, when we were walking through that field,
There's more stalk.
Maybe
was
it's
some
30%
buzz there that-
CBD.
It could be.
You see?
High CBD levels. We should get it done.
Well, that's my whole point.
I think maybe we're going to have to spend a year or two of our lives growing the thing properly.
Pick me.
Doing a big pheno hunt and
I
then
can think of other people in the room that would dig to do that as well.
So what, Dan, you rate so far? 50% pippage or less?
No, more. Well, that's still a lot more. I mean,
Okay.
there's still a lot more seeds in there.
Okay, well, we'll go on to the next.
Yeah, well,
Carry on, next topic. I'll carry on.
Maybe we get one in the third quarter, you know?
yes.
So, before we move on to the serious stuff, let's have a bit of a laugh. I'm going to put on my smug face because let's face it, it's been a long time since I've had a viral meme, guys.
Yay!
This week with the whole hysteriosis,
Hysteriosis.
put out a little meme there about weed being safer than polony, and I thought, maybe a like or two. And this thing went fucking viral,
It
man.
just went
It
nuts.
did. Well done.
And so many people
well
were
done,
sending
yeah.
it back to us. I was getting this thing from all over, and they thought they were the first to come up with it. We've been running it viral for 3 hours. I think you shared it with Dagga couple in the morning, and by lunchtime we sort of got into thousands. And how many shares did he actually get out of THC?
Yeah, how many was there?
In the end, it's sitting at about 5,500 shares.
That's pretty good for
really?
That's pretty good for
Wow,
morning's
that's
work.
really good.
So and all over Twitter and stuff, and it's quick. And then did you see?
Claim to glory.
You checked the second and third ones that come out with this long. There was other fake, other fake ones, not fake. They
It had children.
their
It
own
had
ones.
children. Because things happen this fast. Because if that thing had been a day or two late, it would have been irrelevant. But things happen so fast in our world that the meme had babies.
Already,
in a few hours.
literally,
Yeah,
literally.
there was
Makes
one that was
memes
too
of the
long-winded. It was far too long-winded. This one just did the trick. It just did the trick, and
Well,
you know
at
when
the
you
end of
get
the day,
one,
it is true. Polony kills more people than marijuana.
yeah.
Well, it
But,
has in Africa.
We're
that's
just
for sure.
wondering what might happen next because remember the Polony in Lesotho.
Oh.
Between a rock and a hard place.
So this is weird. This is like banging a chick and then finding out she has AIDS.
Oh, no.
That's
Possibly has
pretty
AIDS.
deep.
Or something, STD or
STD,
something.
whatever, man. Woo! Something that could fuck your shit up. Because while before this had all broken, we were in the city buying the dodgiest polony out of the dodgiest store because there was nothing
There's
else.
nothing else.
So for all we know, there might not be a next episode.
Well, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. What about
You know,
feeling
it's
good?
like 80 Ks on the map, and you think, well, it's 80 Ks, but now we're 3 hours in, and we're about to hit dirt, so we had to do something.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a whole bunch of sweet bread, and
Sweet rolls, polony, mayonnaise.
and mayo, and some sort of carbonated bottle of sugar, as I recall.
So have we all officially given up polony though? Jules, given up polony.
I had already. It was just I was
Out
forced
of
into
necessity,
it.
we had to do it.
Hey, dog, no more
I'm
polony.
out.
It was
I'm
so
out.
bizarre. I actually, pictured it, videoed it, because it was the pinkest thing in the whole valley. It was even pinker than me, and I had sunburn.
Totally
remember?
unnatural out there. It was
I got
just- it
sunburned
stuck
the
out.
day before, so I was completely English.
You
and
were.
pink. I actually looked like a piece of frickin' polonium. Oh my god, it's all coming back to me now.
So let's get into our first news story of the week. This was all over the show. It made a couple of headlines, but I'm just going to use the Transform site's release on this. So basically, the news is that the UK is apparently the biggest producer of medical cannabis in the world.
The biggest exporter.
Exporter,
The
sorry,
biggest
exporter.
exporter.
UK.
Yeah.
The UK.
Yeah.
So undercover, eh?
Strange.
And it's in plain sight because of GW Pharmaceuticals.
Oh, well, there we
me-
go. It's a
let me give-
pharmaceutical property.
It's a pharmaceutical thing.
And they've got thousands and thousands and thousands of hectares, yeah.
Let's do the boring blurb first, just to get everyone up to speed. So the story starts. A new report from the UN's International Narcotics Control Board has revealed the UK is the world's largest producer and exporter of legal cannabis for medical and scientific uses. Yet proper access to medical cannabis is still denied to UK patients. The report, that includes data from governments around the world, reveals that the UK produces 95 tons of legal cannabis in 2016.
What?
This is more than double the 2015 total of 42 tons.
1,000 kilograms.
About 20 tons, anyway, almost. At which point the UK leapfrogged Canada into the #1 spot. But the UK, out of nowhere,
Are the
It's
biggest
sneaky stuff, eh?
exporters.
Didn't
It's
even
pretty
know they were
sneaky.
doing
And
it.
that's a non-profit. That's a drug think tank. That's nothing to do with government. These are the people like the non-profit company kind of dudes that are always looking for funding, and that's a great piece of expose and getting to the bottom of the story. They're powerful, but they're a powerful bunch of crackers.
We should have timed that.
Done. Okay. Well, this obviously to the layman in a pub in Liverpool will have you in jail for the weekend.
That's it.
But if it had a barcode on it and it was suspended in an alcohol and it said on it was 4% THC, we all want to know what the other 96% of it is. And nobody ever knows.
#Sativex.
Ooh! So yeah, it's really unfortunate that's the way it is in England. And it's so blatant. It's like governments are really, really getting on my tits now because they believe that I'm as thick as shit. If they think that I will take that for granted, that there's 90 million whatever tons leaving the country, but how many people are in jail for? God, don't get me started.
Yeah,
Where's
that's true.
there's a I don't know what
Pipe.
sort this. Have you got a pipe anywhere?
Yes.
Oh, there's
So before we get back to the UK, guys, shout out to Praxis Glass.
Praxis.
it came up.
Success.
Good work, Praxis.
So the deal with these oaks is it's local. I'm not going to lie, it's very similar to what you see coming out of India and China, but the grade feels really up there. Borosilicate glass, blown locally.
You smoke pipes, so you would
Yeah,
really know the feel.
I'm just
better.
amazed
pipe
to see
master,
something
yeah.
coming out of South Africa.
I think it looks really nice. Honestly, locally made. I think
it's
it's
supposed
well
to be
worth
colour
it.
changing,
You know what? At
so-
the end of the day, it's even though this is the first set of out there.
Come on, Jules.
Can I have a dab on standby just to keep it all together? Hey, you know what? Maybe we're coming across as complete Dagga snobs now, and we should remember the old days and when you went to score some weed, and weed was weed. There wasn't 6 or 3
Yeah,
of one or the other. It was
but-
just weed.
But we have choice now. Same
Well,
as an
you know,
alcoholic
And
or
we
someone
can
that
choose,
drinks.
and that's the difference.
This
has their
is
choice.
as it was dry when I scored it, and it's pretty freaking dry now.
Back to the pipe.
So Praxis Glass, here we
Yes.
go, dudes,
Yes.
live to
Well
camera.
done to the pipe, and I can only imagine what's going to come through what you guys are going to make next.
Apparently lots in the work. Oh no!
Ooh, look at that
Yeah,
pipe go.
Oh my, well done.
Whoa!
Lobotomy.
Wow, it's almost non-combustible. You know, they said that they used it for bedding and fodder. It works.
Looks like it works.
Bedding and fodder. Fucking hell. Bedding and fodder.
Yes.
So this stuff works instantly. Titrates immediately. Fuck's sake, it's hard on the throat, eh? Let me try that again. Yeah, look, I recognise it. You'll recognise it. It's from long ago.
It's that taste.
It's just the end of the season stuff. You could find this in the Transkei and the Pondo land as well, if they're not looking after themselves. I'm not surprised it's R1,000 for 20 kilos.
Yeah, no. But what amazed me is that
I'd love to extract it though. I'd love to go back and get a bunch of it and see what the yield is, because it's full of goodies.
And then test it, so we know.
Oh yeah.
It would be amazing. I don't think anybody's gone and got taxi rank shite weed and tested it.
No.
Anyone? Have you?
No, but if you want to give us funding, if anyone wants to give us funding
We'll go back
to
and
do
do
the
it.
taxi ranks of Africa, seeing how it is with various strains getting to the taxi ranks, how many strains are getting to Lesotho from all of those different valleys of the Transkei?
like a
It's
genome
that.
project.
Yeah, just like a
Well, some of
genome.
it-
If you were to provide more information to everyone that's smoking from that rank or wherever it is, they would understand what they're getting. If,
You know what would
if they
have to
even cared, though. I mean, would they even care?
No, it's just no. But
I think the only way that this would work.
they wanted it to work though. It either works or it doesn't. You know, good or bad. I don't know whether there's loads of different cool strains coming into Lesotho or whether it's one just great big land race now. With a bit of foreign interests here and there.
Well, like you said, it's us weed snobs that actually make the
World go around.
world go round in the weed world, because essentially they'll just sit and grow this for the rest of their life.
Oh yeah.
They don't mind. They're
Hey, look.
exporting this by the ton.
What's the chances that anyone in Europe has got that exactly that patch that we were in the top of that mountain and the top of that valley?
Yeah.
Who knows what that genetic is specific to the land, to the granite, to the fucking nutrients and everything else that goes around it. So it's unique. It's certainly unique.
And we take for granted how
as
big
a
it
pipe
is.
goes, you know what? This is a good little stash pipe. It's lekker.
Did you used to smoke?
It
this
does
kind of
remind me.
We all, I guess, used to smoke this kind of weed.
When do you
Give it a
think
go.
was the last time you smoked this kind of weed, Ash?
Probably now.
Can't remember the last time, man.
Oh, well, you know, before we got into the dank, it was always whatever was the local guy selling, you know. We weren't too worried about what was in the bag back then.
Yeah, we weren't then, eh? When
know,
we started, it was like
A
whatever.
couple of seeds to us was a gain because we could use that seeds then to grow further. So, but nowadays we know what we want to do and what we want. So, hey, it's not bad to smoke the old stuff. I guess what you started on, and I guess it's now how you end off.
Because I think also ignorance was bliss for us back then.
Most
We
definitely.
were like the please call me generation. There was not really internet for us oaks. So what you got, and you thought it was amazing because there are no parameters. It's not like now where you can be 12 and been following every weedstagram.
Yeah,
right?
the only way you knew about it was by going to the flea markets. I remember Rosebank, the top of Rosebank, there used to be this books they used to sell there.
Yeah,
And they sold High Times. They're the only people in the
Yes.
country that sold High Times. And I remember I used to go there and get those magazines because that was the only way I could ever see what the rest of the world was about.
And that's
And that was just before internet started. And then when
Yeah.
internet started, it was insane. A High Time, it was just how it's just progressed
What
from
started?
then. High Times.
No, what's that started after that?
internet.
The internet,
Oh,
from the
I thought you
internet.
said- okay.
So from going from magazines, being able to only see it through mags, then having the internet.
yeah,
Now what we
yeah,
have
it
now,
does.
it's honestly, it's
It's most-
Well, with
it's-
quantum
it's
it's
computing,
really cool.
with
You
quantum
choose that one.
computing comes scratch and sniff.
Can you imagine when that happens? When
Imagine
you
you
can
got like
literally
a blue cheese here and you're going.
swipe through the strains and just scratch it. No, I don't like that.
But
But
that's how
it
it's
could
gonna
work.
be.
It could work badly, yeah.
That's
It
how
could
it's
work
gonna be.
badly.
No.
Porn sites and stuff.
Smoke a bowl.
Yeah,
You
but
got to smoke a bowl. We're on
I don't know what to think about the UK oaks. It's like, I don't know. It's just like, it's all the usual suspects again still, in a way, who like dominating this. And you look at the UK. So in the UK, I don't know if any of you've noticed, they've granted the first ever medical license for a patient, which is for some kid who's got some heavy fucking shit.
But
Wouldn't
that
wish
was,
it on anyone.
that was such a serious concession.
Yeah, and it's only for like 3 or 6
Yeah,
months.
it's
So
like-
there's one patient, you're telling me, like they're exporting like 95 tons, and they're selling 20 tons to this kid.
Doesn't make sense.
Who's it going to?
Right.
I don't get it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, isn't it? But you know, the FDA has just approved Sativex and the other one, Epidiolex, is it? The other, the CBD strength jaw for epilepsy. I think it's called Epidiolex or something. The FDA's just sort of gone amber on that. And it's on the way to a green light. So it's all part of this big plan to lock it down with the barcode, because everyone talks about cannabinoid medication. It's not about cannabis. And the cannabis is you guys and being in trouble with the law regardless. And now it sucks, and it's like all over the world, and it's blatant. So what do we do? how do we get by these really powerful people that are already putting systems in place to fuck the stoners over that worked for it all their lives to get it to this point in the public eye? It's like this battle cry from all around the world.
Isn't that how it was then, say, in Prohibition days, when people were brewing their own beer and then the big companies came in and took over and they were like, well, you're not going to do this, we're going to take control of this. And they did. They took control. The big breweries all run the show. But there's still always that subculture that happens, regardless.
Well, as long as they're legal, that's what I want. There has to be a craft market.
Yes.
They can have as much twack
Well,
as
that's
they
what I'm saying.
want.
So then with the craft breweries, so essentially what's happening is the big guys are going to take over for the mass production. It's business. They're going to want to produce the mass. We're going to be left with the craft breweries. And essentially like craft cannabis in Canada and America, we're going to get crafted.
I hope we get as
well,
much
that's what I
as
hope we do. I hope we do.
So do I. I hope that's what it.
Because that would be really the most logic way to follow the booze or tobacco way. Essentially, there's no tobacco, but the booze way. Follow it.
But if I can, you guys are getting really nicely into our next topic here, because you think about the big scale of it. These things have impacts, economic impacts, and supporting industry impacts of that. And there was this really cool story in the cannabis this week, and it goes: marijuana industry pays trimmers so well that restaurants are struggling to hire. Colorado restaurants are having a near impossible time hiring and retaining cooks thanks to the marijuana industry. And then it goes, we've got a food crisis in Colorado, and it has nothing to do with crop yield, farm to table, or availability of ingredients. Local restaurants are having a near impossible time hiring and retaining cooks, and the effects may be showing up on the plate and in the check. And just to give you guys a rundown of what the number is, so apparently, as a cook, as a puss slaving there, frying the bacon, frying the polony for hours on end, you'll get
Like
$13 an hour.
Ish.
But as a marijuana trimmer, entry level, beginner, $12 an hour.
And then you don't have to sweat. You're sitting on the nice, comfortable chair.
Sitting with your
hip,
tunes.
exactly, music on, smoking, some weed. Comfortable as can be. No fucking slave whip behind you. Just making sure.
Is that how it is? Like $12 an hour is like.
That's your level of that.
It sounds like student. Sounds like student stuff to me.
But that's your, I think, $12.20 from what I've also read
Walmart?
online.
What's
your
Walmart?
entry level? It's your entry level. So if you're a lower level trimmer, you're getting $12.20. If you are the top trimmer where you're pushing out double the yield as that trimmer gets, you're pushing up. I've seen that goes up to
$20.
$20 an hour. That is some
we've all trimmed. How many hours?
How
many serious hours? If you're doing it for weight, how many kilos do you reckon you could do as a?
Trimmer.
You are all really experienced trimmers.
That's a good question.
I've never done it. Yeah, that's how many hours you can do.
Yeah.
But how much do you think you can push through?
How many?
Because there's trimming and trimming.
I suppose, if you're trimming like those.
Doing first trim and then
those
do
plants
second
that are
trims.
so dank. There's
there's not
excess
much to
leaf.
trim. Okay.
You are trimming.
Yeah,
they're growing the quality of the plant to such a level that there's no requirement to sit and laboriously trim this thing, find the leaf. It's just pure product.
Just growing a lot
the leaf
more
is
of
a
a
waste
flower.
of your time.
That's it.
I very rarely see that kind of stuff in my sheltered life. Stuff that you don't really need.
But that's
to
the
trim.
stuff they're growing in GMP facilities and also at home.
And a GW
Guys
farmer,
grow,
of course.
Yes, oaks grow that at home. People grow that in their house, no problem at all.
Yeah.
It's easy. Under lights, indoors, it's very, very, very easy.
What's the sort of life cycle if you start tonight and like put these pips in the ground?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you gave it sun, you'd get to 4 meters. If you left it in, if you gave it 3 meters of space,
everything.
No,
applies.
you saw it.
It
We
well.
were standing there. They were 2 meters, 1.82. That was as high as they were.
Do you think they'd been choked a bit on themselves?
I think
or?
simply from the male pollen hitting them.
Right, they
And
just
growing like
And so close together where they couldn't express themselves to grow out first in order to get a bigger footprint.
I mean, you can get a 4 meter Swazi, so you're going to get a 4 meter one of these. It's the same kind.
But also, if I can,
grown properly.
Yeah.
like the grade that is now, I'm not even sure it's worth trimming because you just trim the back.
They don't trim it, no, guys. They literally
Let
cut
it
the plant
dry.
from the top. They literally pull the things off the stem, and that's it. That's what they do.
Remember those sheets?
Exactly. I was going to say.
I never actually got a single piece of footage. Of
I've got it.
Footage.
Yes,
not the,
footage.
Not the picture of.
Footage. Yes,
There's
we have
something
footage of
There's
it.
something missing somewhere.
Okay,
I've got
we'll have
tons
to-
of
we'll
B-roll
have to
for
check.
another thing altogether.
All right.
We talking shop now.
The bottom
Talking
line
shop,
is
yeah.
we did a lot of filming. We had 3 things, and we tried to cover as much as we could because none of us knew when we'd get this opportunity again. And the footage is being edited into 6 or 7 minutes of cannabis is legal in Lesotho. Or is it? And we'll get to the bottom of the story in our little video.
But back to trimming.
Trimming!
So,
I think there needs to be...
no.
Locally, it's a great way to create work for people. It's a great job creation.
Yeah, and it's not rocket science.
It's not. It's simply factory work. It essentially is factory work. You have to follow the rule as to what the picture is in front of you, and you do it.
It's
and
a great job if you're stoned, and if you like being stoned, it's a great job.
Yeah, even if...
But you might not be allowed to now, because it might be like going on the clock.
Well, that's it. You're working.
That's true.
Well,
Could
you
be
like
like having a
What,
beer.
what gets weighed? The bud that they hang up in the thing, or the shake that you produce?
I don't think they actually hang it with the stick. It's down to the bud, because they traditionally
Yeah,
doing
everywhere
it
I
on
went in
trays now.
Canada, it was all on netter. There was no hanging of anything really. It was
So there's
straight off the
different
stick,
styles, yeah,
trimmed
different-
straight off the stick, and it's on a.
There might be some people I've seen, like some people are weight based. So, but this seems to be becoming a very standard thing now, that it's just an hour rate. That's it. But if you look at it,
But our rate on skill, like you were saying.
on skill, like
Yeah.
what's $200? Like $300. Hey,
Today.
an hour.
Yeah, $20. Yeah, like $300.
$20 is $300. Yeah.
Oh,
$300 an hour. I'll fucking do that.
Yeah, but if you do that for like 6 hours, because now I've
That's
read,
$2,000, boom.
I've read backstories in the past, as you know. There was a diary of a clipper in a couple of years ago, 3 seasons ago in Denver. There's this young girl who wrote Diary of a Clipper.
I think I've read that.
And she went and she had like this waistcoat that had all the munchie bars and smart food and nuts and things and juices and loads of sharp scissors. Like
She was a wook, right? Like a hippie wook.
Exactly.
They call them a wook.
A wook. Explain.
Wook,
I've never heard of it.
like a Wookie.
A wookie.
Yeah, they're like those dreadlocked hippie
I've never heard of
trimmers,
Fube's got-
and they walk around with their hippie fucking, no offense, they're like their dreads, and they're really dirty, and they don't shower, and they just smoke weed in the eyebrow. Like, cool, man.
Sounds offensive. Sounds very close to being
They called
Said
Wookie.
he
They
wasn't-
called
didn't want to
Wookie.
offend anyone
Anyway.
there.
She didn't write like that.
Okay.
Anybody can have a picture as an avatar. But it was a really cool thing to get the feeling of what went down. And there's clips and there's clips. And she preferred to go to this place because the music was cooler. It was simple as that. Because whoever's running the clip is running the music, because you're not going anywhere. And she'd lay everything out. It's like going to the barbers and there's all the tools of the trade. And it was paid by weight of bud.
Yeah.
But it must also bring all the politics of like a formal work environment.
I think it might be as chilled as any kind of... and maybe it's not necessarily people who know each other. There might be a lot of drifters and stuff. So
There's a lot of drifters and lots of foreigners. I've read a story, yeah?
You know, they've been saying as backpackers. As far as I'm concerned, with backpackers now, you can hardly trust anybody. You know, in the day, look, years ago, backpackers were kind of a sanctuary, and your room was locked, but nobody's going to fucking break in and get anything. But they kind of do now. It's getting a bit hectic in backpacker territory. There's a lot of theft going on.
There's some stories going around
anyway,
there about the trimmers that also they all the foreigners come through there and they do trimming for a dude, and he gets all the weed trimmed and then sells it all, but tells him all to fuck off. Literally, like there's guys that are doing that. You know what I mean? So it's not just like.
But then we're
it's
going to
not
see
just
unions and all that kind of shit happening.
There will be,
That's
but
it.
at the moment, people are taking advantage of the foreigners from out of the country. Because you know when people go to America just to be a trimmer, they're like, we're going to live the life. Humboldt County, go live in the triangle and be the
Sounds
all
cool,
hippie,
man.
live it.
Cool.
And start off by trimming, and then they fuck them over because they're like, well, you're an illegal, you're not here, you're supposed to be working, China. We can call the cops and you're out of here. So you're screwed. But, like I said, there'll be unions and hopefully it'll be something that
Hopefully
people can
there'll
make
still
money.
be honour amongst thieves and
That's
stuff.
it,
you know.
exactly.
And
Let's
it'll be a
hope that
bunch of people doing it for the general cause of things or whatever it is, because all of the clubs and stuff in Barcelona that we saw, they all had their like rosters of people tending to shit out of town. You're not allowed to grow in the town, so the grows were out of town, and you had your duties to do to clip it. You were part of the club, so everyone was on a roster of getting shit.
That's
How
like
much-
the
how much
Swiss
would
in
you-
the army.
How
and
much would you pay a
conscription.
clipper?
kibbutz kind of stuff.
Yeah, locally. How much would you pay a clipper locally an hour?
It's hard to say, hey?
Yeah, well-
I mean,
An hour.
we would probably have to start with like the quality of bud. So
Well, they're all on the same bud. You
Okay,
can't.
let's go same bud. Let's call it whatever
let's
it
go
is.
with outdoor. Just loads of outdoor. I'm sure you'll. So actually,
So it's a scale of economies. What percentage of the grammage would you be prepared to pay? Because if it's
Yeah.
like $50 sativa, you can't be paying them the same $100 if they're pulling out like 250
That's
bucket
it. So
gram.
if you're pulling
bucket-
indoor.
So-
Let's talk indoor.
Maybe
Let's
you-
talk high quality.
I think
What do you
maybe what
reckon?
you do is you
Benchmark
pay
it
him by
200
gram.
Huh?
You pay him by gram.
Yeah.
So he would
weight
trim.
clipped.
Yeah, it's as much as he trims, as much as he gets paid. So maybe let's say
Yeah.
throw out a figure 20 rand a gram. Pretty high.
That's,
rand
like,
a
that's,
gram?
that's 40% of a 100 rand gram.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And a gram.
Fuck.
Yeah. Well, look at
Anybody got
throwing
any
out numbers
ideas?
there, but you can easily go with like 5 rand a gram. And then if he's doing what, a kilo a
I
day.
think 5 rand a
think
gram
maybe-
at your dank. I think at your dankest, but also I think you know how it is with workers. Anyone. If you're paying someone per hour, they're gonna take
They,
the time.
they could take their time.
They'll take their time. If you pay them, if you pay them by gram, they want to push that gram out. They want to get 1,000 grams done today, and they will skimp on quality. Rather,
Oh.
you say,
Yeah.
I pay per hour. I don't want no shit done.
I just want it
You've
done
got
my way.
this box. And there's a time limit, so you have to get it done by this time. If you're not getting this done, you're not coming back tomorrow because you're not meeting my quota per day. But I will pay you per hour at this, and I'll give you free juice type thing. That's how I think I'd run, because you can't fucking make people get a quote on gram.
Well,
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it?
It
They're
is.
all-
Well, I guess you
Yeah,
can.
you
they're all-
can't-
they're all
That's my
two
method.
They're all clipping the same stuff, so maybe you've got to clip it yourself. The person who's doing the paying has to clip it themselves to figure out how much they
Of
could
course.
possibly do to their.
You know
that's
how
any
you
part
want
of
to
running
Yeah.
any business.
and you
you
know
have to
how.
get your
Well, the
hands
thing
You
is,
gotta-
in the business
So that's-
to
that's-
understand it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Maybe
So you
let's-
would have to sit there and trim 5 kgs and then time
well, that's
this
because
out.
you know how you want it trimmed, and
And-
for you to get that
Yeah, but-
quality, it takes you this amount of time. You say, well, look, you make sure that it's done to this quality, and there you go.
And 5 kgs is like green crack, is a piece of piss to clip your way through. You know, there's hardly any
Well, that's what
sugar
I'm saying.
leaf
So
or
this is
nothing.
what I'm saying. Indoor bud
So-
has a lot less light.
Because
a lot
this,
less leaf.
if you grew this to 4 meters and you gave it 3 meters across and you fed it, and it was like in a floodplain with 14 hours sun uninterrupted, imagine clipping this shit. It's going
You
to be
don't-
bud. It's going to be bud, but there's
Yeah.
going to be 2.5 kilos
Leaf.
on a plant.
My
Remember
God.
those the DRCs? Same kind of thing. The Congo plants.
I do recall.
Sativas, like 4 meters. Fucking Joe came one time and he went. He'd never seen a plant so big. It took him aback because it wasn't part of his frame of reference that you'd have to go like this, the top of the plant. And that was a 2 kilo plant, and that's what this could be. But 2 kilos of what?
Yeah, it's all relative. It's like how long is a piece of string. So before we get on to our next topic, I think let's try and put a nail in it then. If you were to be the oak who had to sit and do the trimming,
Yeah,
to the standard of bud you would expect to be trimmed,
correct.
for you to give up your life and dedicate it to trimming every day, 9 to 5, weekdays or whatever, for the rest of your fucking life. Because let's face it, before we think about this, trimming can lose its appeal quickly. Promise you guys. So if you were to give it up, what would you have to give it up for? A day or a month? What would your price be?
You know what it is? It's a seasonal thing. You just knuckle down and do it for a season. In my world, in outdoor world, the seasons of the year for all my life, then you just do it, and then it's like a third of your life. It's a 3-month clip, whatever, on a harvest. But if you were to do it because it's perpetual motion under lights,
Job, yeah.
I got over clipping in the late 90s, I think.
So Jules will not go back. Hey,
He does not have a price.
What would your price be? Your daily rate?
Here we go, plant builder. I'll go and you go.
If they really required my skill, which I've got, I wouldn't mind 10% of what I cut and I trip and I trim and everything. I wouldn't mind 10%. I wouldn't take the money.
Take the product.
I'd take the product
Okay.
because the product is worth more. To
Yeah,
me.
this is what
It's not
Bradley's
getting back
saying on the
anywhere.
feed here. Bradley says, I pay them in weed. Yeah, no, there's another one. There's something
There
that
you
agrees
go.
with you here,
Pay
Bradley.
me in weed as long as it's quality.
It's the original book.
And what about the whole concept of scissor hash? There's a lot of scissor hash
That
controversy.
goes to the trimmer.
Goes to
Trimmer.
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 And finger hash, trimmer.
No, actually, you know what?
There shouldn't be
No.
finger hash.
No,
Not
I
anymore.
retract that.
That's the cream.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
You should
the more
smoke it
hash
with
on the
the
gloves
person.
is going to the owner, and if you fucking take off all my hash off my plant, I'm gonna fuck you up.
There must be no hash
No, it's just
on
a
your
hash.
gloves.
Yeah, there shouldn't
We
be
make
any on
you
your
wear the
gloves.
black
You're doing a
gloves.
terrible job if you've got a lot on your gloves. You shouldn't be touching those buds inappropriately.
Because
like
also,
that.
wouldn't you want it to, like, in a legal
I would take like
context,
$2,000 a day. That's what I would say.
$2,000 a day.
Yes, that's
I'm
what I
about
would
the
take.
same, guys.
No,
So,
no less.
You would
that's what I
have to
do.
trim a lot then, boy.
No, $2,000 a day. That's what I do.
I would need you to trim a lot.
That's
Get
fine.
paid like that.
with the little scissors, with the little scissors,
Yeah,
dude. With the nail clipper.
That's like what, 20 grams? That's nothing off of the fucking kilograms that I'm gonna trim.
No, but you're only a small part of the puzzle then. That's
Yeah,
the
well,
thing with these oaks.
You want my skills?
But I mean, are you doing what 20 grams a day every day as a
What,
guy?
trimming?
Yeah, I mean
20 grams is nothing. Man.
That's fuck all, dude.
Yeah.
You're gonna be pushing out. You're gonna trim like a kg a day.
You'd have to, yeah, but oaks, yeah, in this country, would be needing to be able to supply that much weed for us to trim.
But like you guys were saying at the beginning.
Easy, man.
Yeah, in due time, but no one can do that right now. That's
Fucking
for sure.
dude, I'm telling you, they can. From what I've seen, oaks being busted, they definitely can.
Sorry,
Okay.
can they do what? I'm in another.
We're saying that oaks can definitely supply enough weed now for trimmers to start trimming for people.
Look.
I believe
Well,
it is.
let's get into, guys, too much time on trimming. I think
Yeah.
maybe
It's
it
very
should be,
interesting.
it
Okay.
should be our
I
top.
want
We
weed,
wanted to
you
do
want
a
money.
topic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're
We're
gonna
gonna grow
do.
topic. Where was it? I wanted to talk about.
Did you not mark
You
the
want to
page?
talk about it now
Because
already, dude?
What did you say to me?
No,
then?
no, no. I'm saying we're gonna talk. Let's set up trimming and grow from the next episode or whatever, dude.
Okay.
Because then we've got a special guest coming
Yes.
round. More about that later. Cool. Let's get on to rate my grow.
Dun, dun, dun.
So there was a bust in Sedgefield. There's not much action
Yes,
on the grow, but there's much a bit of
Sedgefield.
there's action on the plants. So VJ, if you can get it up there.
The grow.
Who's this?
Oh, it's GG's. Yeah, line them up.
So guys,
no,
it's,
apart
what
from
can I
trees.
say? It's another stereotypical bust in the burbs. Sedgefield is in the burbs, from what I understand. And it's where's that sort of Neisner area?
Yeah.
Neisner.
Yeah, it's
Just
the same.
before
It's the
Neisner.
same.
What do they call that area as well?
Wilderness.
That's it, the wilderness.
Yeah, and it's the same. George, Neisner, Platt, Sedgefield, but the Neisner Herald itself, as a newspaper, is really becoming this sort of pathetic little prohibition rag that people read at the fucking doctors or something like
Yes.
that, you know? And it all gets tittle-tattled and, oh God, it's just hectic. But the headline was like 149 trees and it was things in bags this big. It was just fucking ridiculous as a concept that they would have so much time and effort for 147 trees. And there's the I don't know, it's around somewhere. But anyway, the grow itself was in bags and they were all there. It is. There's a whole bunch of stuff in
109.
109 very specifically.
109 plants. How did you know that?
I just saw it as it came up quickly.
Really? Yes,
Yeah.
you got eagle eyes, dude. I
Yeah.
know.
I might be stoned, but I'm still good at what I do.
So
Obviously, I didn't do my homework properly when I loaded all this shit. So
There we go.
yeah, no,
Okay, at least I wasn't seeing things, so
I
I'm
don't
good
know. I
on
must
that.
have called it something else. Must be called something else. Anyway,
but they look like they're well on into growing. And
I've
that.
got this thing going on in my head about this like small town publications this year, really drilling it with this pathetic time and time again about weed and Dagga and weed and the cops banging their chests and the pictures of bus and it's all down to they even filter the readers' comments and stuff and supporters of ours have been banned from commenting because they speak of the truth.
because
It's like this, but I don't need to live down there anyway. Shame. It's, I think you'll probably be able to see the thing now, and there's the jubilant cops, and there's, I don't know, 20 bags, what are they, 20-litre bags, and they look as if they've been, I don't know, under lights perhaps.
if I can point it out though, they're pick and pay canvas bags. which is very clever of them. It's a very DIY thing, but they're paying attention. I don't know if this is going to score like the best marks because it's hard to see without the whole grow up there. But I'd give these oaks an above average. I'd give them a solid 6. But it doesn't look like they were anywhere near harvest yet.
Do you think,
Fair.
because they're in the size of these bags, do you think these are the cops bagging them? Because they pulled them out the grounds, and this is just before they send them away. Because all the cop cars are there. I don't know. You see what I mean? What that
The cops
bag,
are riding around with the stash of pick and pay canvas bags for just this situation.
or are they being grown in bags? And if they are that big in a bag, then are they under lights? Or is this an outdoor thing? Is this nursery before they go out somewhere? Do you suppose?
don't know.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to have a look? So here's a close.
I imagine they're growing them in the bags.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
That's what
So
this
if
is.
they're growing them in the bags, are they?
Those are makeshift. Just so everyone knows, those are makeshift air pots. So they don't cost as much as the ones from the grow shops. They breathe
Where
just
can
as
people
well.
get the real ones?
The real ones from these guys right here, Freedom Farms.
Okay.
Freedom Farms in Cape Town sell some really good air pots, fabric pots. They're really, really good.
And what's the benefit of that?
Well, what they do is they allow your roots to grow a lot more. So because the roots are able to grow out the bag, and as they grow out the bag, they air prune themselves. And by air pruning themselves, it's just like a tree. When you pinch the top, the other nodes on the lower before it, will branch out looking for. Well, don't even branch out. They're now the auxins are sent to those nodes, so they're able to grow bigger and faster than the main tip. So generally, well, all the
didn't know
time
that.
in these airbags, your root
We're
zone will
getting
be.
into the next episode.
Yeah.
Dan, what would you give them
Hold
out of
back.
10?
Out of a 10.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like a,
So Martin Latham here.
5. So it's been
A 5 for this, for that.
well, I mean, they're
5. It looks.
5. It's average. It's
good. They were
nothing
big plants.
great.
Good. I'm thinking. I don't know how their setup was. I didn't
I'd
see
be.
anything. So
No,
I
I
don't
think
know.
they're pretty good. I think I'll give them a 7.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think they look quite neat and tidy, and the cops seem to have made such a. They've spent a long time trying to keep them alive. At this point, they're fucking useless to anybody whatsoever. Why they want to keep them alive is beyond me. Are they going to weigh this as the street value of fucking bags as well? So it's like, what is that? 8 kilos per plant times 109 plants. There's 3.5 million rands worth of weed right there.
There we go.
It's a lab.
Hashtag coponomics. But let's get on to our next thing. So the Cape Town Cannabis March is coming out. It's always a big thing. It's a great thing, guys. Please go support.
Yes, the march.
Currently, it's run by Bongalong, and we gave them a share this week on the Dagga Couple Facebook page. But what was interesting, so I'm not saying the march is cancelled or anything like that. I just think
I saw that,
there seems
yes.
to be some sort of news going on. So Bongalong came and made a comment that said, "So dank, the police just told Joe today. Joe's the CEO Joe. Today, apparently we can't march if smoke, but they seem not to care that we are going to sit down at Parliament. I reminded them we were never actually asking. And then they go on to say the whole blurb from the cop, which is like an A4. And the cop saying basically that the cop that needs to sign off is saying, because you said very specifically said that there isn't just the march you intend to smoke as a statement or whatever, that we don't want to let the march go on. So they're saying if you didn't say you were going to smoke, it could have just gone. And that's how it goes on video. Everyone just smokes and it's all okay. But because they made it very clear that they intend to smoke in front of Parliament, the cops are saying, whoa.
Yeah, I think it's a classic mistake of it doesn't do us any favours by doing that.
Yeah.
And it's like on a Saturday morning, and it's all very silly. But it's another form of activism, and it'll not stop as a form of activism, but it will. As I do walk down the march down the street, you've been there, done the same thing. It honks of weed for 2 hours, and it's all over for 11 and a bit months, and then it starts again. And it's really it's not invasive to anybody. It's colourful. Yeah, it stinks as all, but everyone's been on a train in Cape Town. They know what the smell is all is. And to go out there and say we're going to smoke it up is totally counterproductive. Because at that point, for 10 years, the cops have turned a blind eye to the smoking. Because if as organisers you condone it, then it's you that goes down. You can't condone an illegal thing in the organisational blurb of this. It's either a cannabis walk through the gardens in a carnival mode, or it's a fucking smoking on the steps till we get heard. Brew, you'll be dragged off long before you're heard. On a Saturday down there, they'll drag you all off and stick you in Adderley Street till Monday at least.
Yeah, it'll be the same oaks who always escort the EFF out.
I hope they sort it out because I think they will sort it out. I'm fucking convinced they'll sort it out. Yeah. It must go on, but you can be in their face if you want, but they'll have the last laugh. And somewhere in the middle of like mayhem and anarchy and discussions at the highest level with government, there's this middle bit where you just don't be anyone's face if you're going to be in the street. And the people, I'm sure there's loads of people go to the march that don't carry because they're going to that and they're hanging out for a fucking joint during the march.
Yeah, you get halfway through and you realise everyone's blazing and you got no weed. That's what I should be like. I should be.
Well, you know what?
But stoners are fucking caring and sharing. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, bro, have
As
some.
long as they've got to share.
I'm good on that. I'm going to have another bit of this pipe. I'm blessed because I am who I am at the march, and people are always offering me a smoke or whatever it is. But it's normally a joint, and it's normally got a mix in, and it normally spins me out. But I sort of get gracious about it. Yes, it's Mark and Emery had a rant about Europe. He's just been in South America, and now he's got to Europe. He's been there like a week on his tour, and he's put it in capital letters on Twitter. What is it with you Europeans, you disgusting fuckers, with your weed and your tobacco? Here we are trying to tell everyone it's a safer alternative, and you're mixing it with this fucking cancerous bullshit substance. Fuck. And I went back to him and said, you got a fucking point there, mate, because even when I was a smoker of tobacco, I would have a ciggy there and I'd have a joint. I would never literally mix them together. It'll go. This story will go until the end of fucking time.
This is one of those
a bit of mixed, a bit of
ones.
not. But he just blamed your uncontrolled addictive tendencies, if you want to put fucking tobacco in it, basically. Yeah, he had a good capital round, but he's doing good stuff.
He did a good. Where was he now?
Malta.
Yeah, but Oaks, we're going off track.
Yes.
Running out of time. So, guys, please support the march. Support Bong Along. I don't always see eye to eye with the Oaks, but they hustle. How this plays out, just pay attention. I don't know where to from here.
They'll figure it out. It's their town.
Good, watch it,
It's their town.
We hope you do well, Joe.
Yeah, get better soon, Joe.
Dude,
That's
no
get
more
better,
jumping
dude.
off of cliffs, dude.
Yeah.
We'll know where to find you on a stretcher on the back of that green truck, perhaps, bro.
Dude,
We'll get you. We'll GoPro the whole damn thing. You'll be there.
Yeah.
there's easier ways to get high, dude.
Nice one, mate.
On a more somber note, guys, this
Sure.
name probably won't mean a lot to you folk out there, but there's been a stalwart in the background who's just, since the beginning of the Dagga couple, supported jokes. So,
Yeah.
Jules, I think maybe you knew the man more than I ever would.
I didn't know him all that much, but I can tell you that Neil Stotoy was he was a real ganja man. He was a grower's grower, and he had a heart of gold. And no, he did good for folk. And if he was wild, and he hated the cops, and he'd always tune the cops, and he'd always spend a bit more time in the cells than he should have done because he was tuning the cops and shit. And these are photos that you see now that I've picked off Ras Warren, off his site, off his Facebook page, because Warren introduced me, Yellow Man, he introduced me to Niels in Hogsback. And Myrtle and I met him a couple of times. And we did some sort of wheeler dealing with him for, weed and stuff when we were in the Eastern Cape. And he was a good soul. And he's died. I don't know the whole story. It's not out there. It's a private thing, I believe. But
Of course,
it's really weird that you can think of Niels and you're never going to see him again. It's really quite a shocker. So to the family of Niels and girlfriend and baby, and to Raz Yellow Warren, to thanks for the photos, and sorry to the family about Niels Stotoy. He was the ganja dude.
Yeah, he was one of the OG warriors. So, guys, yeah.
Smoke one for him.
Smoke one for the
Big
homies,
up,
Oaks. For the homies, eh?
For the homies.
Cool. Back onto a lighter note. We're going to skip ahead here because we're coming into land soon. But this really touched me on my studio this week. So maybe we've all displayed signs of being guilty of this already. Weed snobbery sort of come up a bit during this episode. But basically what happened to me this week is, so I was at the last march and I got some great clickies and did the whole Facebook photo album and that on the Heiko. And my favorite picture is the picture I led with, which is basically a carpenter smoking a bottleneck pipe. And the dude's looking good and the pipe looks good, looks well made, and he's got his stop and it's good.
You see it.
Looking good, yeah.
Yeah, look, that is a very, very cultural weapon, eh?
Mm-hmm.
You will find variations around, but that's from the carp.
Yeah, and so the deal is, why I bring this up, is a chick reached out to me and sent a message to the page, and I thought she was going to report me to Facebook because she didn't like my answer. But her deal was, please remove this picture. She's weed culture, but she finds it offensive.
Okay.
And her whole bit was, she felt that we carried a responsibility to only show the best side of cannabis culture.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to say my piece and we can all have this out, but I think this was so fucking fundamentally flawed because just because something isn't a part of your weed culture doesn't make it less relevant.
That's correct.
Completely. Weed culture spans lots of cultures. Every culture's got a weed culture.
That's how he grew up. Smoking weed probably through a
oh,
bottleneck. And he's mastered it. And that's the way it's his preference.
Hey, the first time I did it, when I first arrived in South Africa 20 footsteps years ago.
We've all probably done it in the
It fucking floored me. It absolutely floored me. It was like I had no air left in my head. It's raucous, but it's relevant to cannabis culture. Yeah, it's skanky and scaly, and he maybe looks a bit too skanky and scaly, but it's a really beautifully taken photo, and it just sums up the Cape Town March as well, because it's homegrown, that one.
Yeah,
Totally. It's hardcore, and it's probably, I don't know, hundreds of years old, clay pipe.
Yeah, because it's a chillum.
So chillum, 15th century.
I wanted to say to make a picture of one of the Indian Swami oaks smoking his chillum.
And they hit that long pipe, and it's a long chillum.
It's his chillum. It's his chillum. And also, we take it for advantage. Like, I can sit here and I can turn my nose up at Red Riz and be like, I don't want to smoke that Red Riz. Do you know what? What I realized in Lesotho, even fucking Red Riz was a luxury.
It really was.
Wow.
Guess who went to Lesotho for 3 days to weed territory without blades? Come down to earth and to the Chinese shop in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, even the Chinaman's got Red Riz.
Red Riz,
They're fucking 2 hours out of town, there's a Red Riz. Because you smoke drugs.
But yeah, it's also, for me, it is a part of our culture. Like Dan could share with me on this. I grew up with my old man smoking white pipes.
Yeah, no, I
white pipes. Sorry.
White pipe is...
It was a bottleneck for starters and a white pipe for dessert in my hood. But even so, it was a part of the culture. And you say your old man also used to hit a bottleneck.
Yeah, I remember my old man and his mates would always hit bottlenecks all the time. They would have a quartz bottleneck and they would always smoke their weed like that.
One bottleneck that really stood out for me years ago was a Tabasco bottle with the fluted long piece,
yes.
and he'd cut like 2/3 of it off, and he'd put a stop in there, and just the fact that it had this long thing made it a bit more elegant, but it still took your fucking lungs out, everything. Your eyes popped, your jugular went. It's fucking awful way of smoking weed.
And A-Dog, you mentioned, you hit the nail on the head there. It's a masterful thing. It's an art.
That's right.
To make I defy this chick who had this moan at me to go make a bottleneck and to make that stop that goes in it and to get that glass.
Yeah, and put the filter in and get the neck right and grind it down. I mean, you try to break a bottle to get that neck like that, unless you have a glass cutter on hand, and nobody really does. It's a one in a million strike, and then you've got it, and it's something like you carry all the time. I guess that person did.
I remember you could pull these things.
Had that guy on him in his sock.
Your label. You could pull the label off the shirts back in the day. Pull that label off and use that as your rag. The lappy. The lappy on the back.
You guys don't do it with the newspaper filter.
I've seen cardboard
on the inside.
So what you do is, my old man was a master at this with a phone book or a newspaper. And you would basically take a long, perfect line of newspaper and fold it back in, and then roll it. And roll it until you ended up with the thing big enough to wedge, like a kite.
But that was a piece of paper.
Yeah.
With print on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The more print, the better.
Everything goes.
The more print, the better.
Because that's also one of those things.
It was the print that got you off. It was just this. It was just twat like this.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the fucking ink that got you off.
Did you maybe you oaks at home can relate to, but then maybe you can. I would always know if I was in another kid's household and his parents smoked weed because all the margins from the phone books and the newspapers would be torn out for joints.
Or there would be a magazine.
It was that kind of town.
Or you'd
I'd always find a magazine, a folded magazine on the side of the couch.
Oh,
Get the fuck out of here.
I
Always.
found weed in the Panado bottles. Those old, like, pillow ones. And I was like, oh, okay. Guess there's no correct tablets in here. So I guess you find some ways.
And you Oaks reckon we'll get to a point where there'll be artisanal bottlenecks?
You know, if somebody wants to go out and make
almost was a pipe, but yeah.
This is almost a bottleneck. Yeah, no, it's just another shape. You could put a Yellow Pages gimmick in it if you wanted, you know. But it's the same concept.
Yeah.
This is very, very difficult to light. It's almost incombustible now. I don't know what it is. It's like
It's
just,
grass.
It's grass.
It's
Yeah,
It's
also,
actually grass. You can't light it twice. There's nothing in it. It just goes the first time.
It doesn't taste like weed. It tastes like Lesotho's garden.
But it's got. I reckon it's got serious promise. I reckon, give it to me for a season or two. A season. Give me a season, and give me
this
30,
time next
30
year,
plants.
sometime.
Get 2 kilos off each one, and then do a run of this and get it cleaned up and stuff. And I reckon mainline this shit be fine.
And also, let's face it, when you put that thing in a red Riz or a newspaper joint, it's going to stay lit. I think that's the big appeal.
I think that's the only way to smoke that.
Because
Is that why you put tobacco in joints? Yeah, it's
That
gonna-
weed just
No,
Yes,
that's why they're
fucking
using tobacco. I mean,
page of
that's why they're using
newspaper.
weed with newspaper. Because this weed is so bad, they need the ink to keep it alight.
Ah,
That's it.
there you have it.
Uh-huh.
Well, I think
Fucking
just
hell.
it's so bad it all works together in the newspaper. Something like that.
Well, the Sunday Times, the Sunday lunch, guys. We're coming into land.
All right.
Before we get out of here, just a quick reminder: D-Day. D-Day is
D-Day.
on.
Uh-huh.
Gotta
D-Day
be
is
there.
on.
Be there, be square.
B-Day, B-Day. Before I even slip, B-Day. This stuff does work, this Mataquani. Gives you speech embodiment.
Embodiment. Caught that one.
D-Day's rocking. It's captivating everybody's imagination. It is in a park. It is the Golden Harvest public park run by Joburg Parks. It's sanctioned by Joburg Parks. It's got a view of Josie. It's got a main stage. It's got a reggae for hours on end stage in the trees under a nomad tent. It's got a comedy tent for the first time and a bit of acoustic. And we've got loads of Bedouin stuff. There's a cash bar. There's an auto bank. There's I don't know how many
so much
things.
to do.
How many stores we running at the moment? I think there's like 25 in the flea market so far.
Yeah,
Not
it's
quite
everything.
sure.
I think the short is just come down the Dabbit hole with us.
The Dabbit hole.
Dabbit hole.
Yeah, there's a good byline. Yeah, look, all systems go, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be dank. It's bigger and better than ever. Just like don't come alone. Bring a friend. It's something.
Get yourself a ticket to help
unforgettable.
us out because it's massive this year and like it's the most expensive one we've ever had to pull off. But we're convinced we will. We've got an amazing team in the background. Some of them have been with us since the very first one. You know, there's people that are really tried and tested as a crew. So it's a little bit clockwork. Myrtle and I are leaving this weekend to get
Vienna.
away from 420.
Yeah.
We're
Out
going
of
to go to. We're out of here. We're going to go and actually on Monday morning at 9:00. We're in the plenary session of the United Nations in Vienna.
That is excellent.
So that is really kind of.
Really, really good.
It's like a bit schizophrenic, eh? From this to that on Monday, and this is like negotiations at the highest level. The World Health Organization. Everyone thinks is about to say to the world, decriminalize all drugs.
Yeah.
And so this is the nuts and bolts of how the mechanisms of that would actually work. And Myrtle and I go in as Fields of Green for All for South Africa, and we've got accreditation, and we're registered at the United Nations now, and we're going to kick their ass and pick them up on everything because there's nothing about us without us. They have to listen to the stoners because those sons of bitches are only the people writing the legislation. They wouldn't know fucking stoned if you smacked them in the arse with it. They don't. They don't. I'm having arguments with people who don't smoke weed next week.
Oh my god.
Guys,
I really want to be stoned while doing that.
the recap's going to be great, so we definitely will do a recap once you start back. So it means it's a Jules-less episode next week, but we've got a special guest star.
Yeah, no.
And it's not my mom.
Oh.
Hoorah! But
So, guys, please check out D-Day.
Yeah, buy a
Really?
ticket. They're
Buy a
cheap.
ticket.
165 bucks for all of that.
Share it.
All of that. And you know what? It's just come for 12 hours and feel what prohibition doesn't feel like, you know? There won't be any prohibition. Come and feel free and just hang out and see what we put on, because we're good at making it look sexy. It's going to look cool.
And just come for the good music. Just come and chill in the park for the good music.
Come for great food.
BCUC, Tidal Waves, Silverback, Crumb Burgundy,
Just to name
a whole
a
bunch.
few.
Deep Fried Man.
Deep Fried
Follow
Man,
comedians, guys.
Indigo Girl.
It's gonna
Check
be a
out the
party.
site. Link. It's all there.
Please like
Buy
this. We're
tickets.
getting there. There's more and more subscriptions.
Like
coming
and share,
through.
like and share, please.
And sorry about the audio. Sorry about the pictures. Sorry about the glitches. Sorry about everything else.
Sorry for being sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Guys, please stay
Yeah,
lit
thanks
as
for
fuck.
listening.
See you there.
Like, subscribe, share. Tell us what you want to hear.
Comment.
And send us loads of product to review, dude.
Yeah.
Let us test what
Praxis,
you've
shout
got out there,
shout out to
guys.
Praxis. That
Praxis,
was
shout out.
Thank you very much. It got land raced.
Enjoy your smoke.